KUAM News Headlines is presented by Calvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust, serving Micronesia since 1938. Matson celebrating 25 years of commitment to Guam, Micronesia, and the CNMI. Cars Plus, home of Guam's first and only lifetime powertrain warranty. Visit carsplusguam.com for details. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it, and King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Beginning now on Guam's primetime newscast, GovGuam budget hearings for fiscal year 2022 started today. Plus, a new memo notes that fully vaccinated personnel up at Andersen Air Force Base are no longer required to wear face masks. And Rev Tax was full of last-minute filers, with today being the deadline to file your taxes.
Hafide and good evening, I'm Adriana Cotero. The fiscal year 2022 GovGuam budget hearings got underway today. First up was the Guam Community College. GCC is requesting an adjusted budget of $20,833,000. But of growing concern is the drop in student enrollment over the past 3 years, even prior to the pandemic. President Mary Okada.
In fall 2018, we had 2,078 students. 2019 was 1,979 students. And 2020, 1,796 students. This past spring, our enrollment dropped to 1,564.
Separately, she says the school has managed to cut costs and increase efficiencies through increased use of technology.
Despite the effects of COVID-19 pandemic, we recognized and seized the opportunity to reconsider some of our business practices. We expanded our efforts to digitize our processes, including online requisitions and applications for enrollment, electronic timesheets, direct deposits for students, and others.
Dr. Okada also briefed senators on several $1 million in CARES Act and other federal assistance the college received to improve student facilities. CNMI Governor Ralph Torres announced he has received his allocation from the American Rescue Plan. The U.S. Treasury has transferred some $481.8 million to the CNMI Department of Finance. The Torres administration says one of its top priorities will be to keep government employees at 80 hours per pay period. Other uses include rental assistance, capital projects, infrastructure improvement, and small business credit expansion. Torres says he will be meeting with the CNMI legislature to discuss the spending plan. We checked with Adaloop, and as of today, Guam's allocation had not yet been received. Those incarcerated or family members with a loved one incarcerated, listen up. Did you know inmates are eligible to receive economic impact payment or stimulus checks? About 7 months ago, a federal judge in California made the ruling in a class action lawsuit that the IRS cannot deny a payment to someone who is incarcerated if they meet the necessary criteria.
Inmates can apply, do qualify for a stimulus check.
Department of Corrections spokesperson Major Antone Uggan confirms that some inmates' families are already in receipt of the federal money.
Some inmates' families have filed on their behalf. A few families come in here and have their loved ones sign the paperwork, and it was filed in their behalf. And so those that filed, obviously their family will they would receive a $1,400 or could receive a $1,400 stimulus check.
This payment didn't come without major litigation. The Washington Post reports on October 20th that a class action lawsuit was filed on behalf of the incarcerated individuals in local, state, and federal correctional facilities, arguing there was nothing in the law prohibiting inmates from receiving the stimulus payments and that the IRS was being unlawful. A federal judge in California ruled in favor with the petitioners and ordered the Treasury Department and IRS to send the relief money out and within certain deadlines. The Trump administration appealed. However, the court backed up their initial ruling and entered a final summary judgment. Further, the judge ordered the IRS to send out a notice to correction facilities officials to provide to incarcerated individuals about the court decision. The agency would also need to mail blank 1040 forms for inmates and instructions on how to fill out the paper return. Uggan tells KUAM that he is unaware of ever receiving said notice. Meanwhile, Department of Rev and Tax Director Daphne Shimizu says due to the ruling, the non-filer form deadline was moved to November 21st.
That had largely to do with, of course, the issue of incarcerated individuals and making sure that those people who initially thought that they may not be eligible were eligible. And so, again, we had clarified that back in late or maybe the last quarter of 2020. And we worked to make sure, of course, that the financial institutions, of course, are aware of that and that we had pressed that out.
For those unaware, Shimizu says those incarcerated are not only eligible for the EIP 1, 2, and 3, but also the recovery rebate credits.
Individuals, as long as they're otherwise eligible, meaning they meet the income limits, the residency requirements, etc. If you were incarcerated, also you were eligible as long, again, as you met all other eligibility requirements.
Once the new travel guidance went into effect on May 15th, hundreds of fully vaccinated returning residents and incoming travelers were spared or released from the government quarantine facility. Public Health PIO, Janella Carrera.
We had over 600 individuals in quarantine that had to be processed. And then we also had people who were in home quarantine. And these are people in home quarantine that came from the quarantine facility that had to be processed.
Over at the Guam International Airport, 5 stations and 20 public health personnel were trained and prepared to put the new plan for arriving passengers into effect. Governor Lou Leon Guerrero shared her thoughts on how processing went.
I know that there were long lines, and as the beginning of any programs or systems, we're working out and tweaking areas of improvement, but it's been going well.
The governor said the vaccine cards have been honored and the WebIZ system used to verify local vaccinations has been efficient. Military personnel who are fully vaccinated will not have to wear their mask on Andersen Air Force Base. The updated guidance is contained in a new memo from Base Commander Brigadier General Jeremy Sloan.
General Sloan's May 16th memo on COVID-19 mitigation measures and enforcement includes a provision that states COVID-19 fully vaccinated personnel, as defined by the CDC, are no longer required to wear a mask indoors or outdoors while on Andersen Air Force Base. Use of masks remains mandatory for personnel who are not fully vaccinated. Meanwhile, for now, masks are still required on the Naval Base Guam, although a spokesman for Joint Region Mariana says the JRMC and the NVG are in the process of revising their public health orders in conjunction with forthcoming U.S. Pacific Fleet and U.S. Indo-Pacific Command guidance. The spokesman adds that regardless of any potential relaxation on base, all service members are required to comply with applicable GovGuam executive orders and public health guidance for mask wearing while off base. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
A quick update on the Department of Corrections vaccination efforts. According to DOC spokesperson Major Antone Uggan, 50 more inmates were vaccinated today with the Johnson & Johnson single dose. This brings the total number of inmates vaccinated thus far to 115. Uggan says they plan to administer doses daily at the Manilao facility until May 25th, or until they use all 320 J&J doses provided to DOC. Investigations are ongoing into a shooting incident that occurred at Turtle Cove in Zhonya over the weekend. On Saturday evening, Guam Police Department officers responded to the scene. As you can see in this video, at least 5 patrol cars are seen lined up outside the drive-in entrance to the cove. Additionally, several people are sitting outside along the roadside. According to GPD spokesperson Sergeant Paul Tapao, shortly before 8 p.m., a riot occurred between 2 separate parties. As a result, 5 individuals sustained injuries and were transported to Guam Memorial Hospital. Officers received information that during the riot, shots were fired by unknown individuals. However, there were no reports of any gunshot injuries. This case has been forwarded to GPD's Criminal Investigation Division. And stick around for more news here on Primetime. You're watching KUAM.
You may ask yourself, what is a blue raspberry? Or a pink lemon? Or even a strawberry watermelon? But they taste so good in these Minute Maid slushies from McDonald's. Who cares? It's more than a drink. It's a McDonald's drink.
While we've all been through a lot over the years,
typhoons, earthquakes, and now COVID-19,
we've been able to get through these together.
For more than 80 years,
Calvo's Insurance has been protecting your homes
your businesses,
and the health of your family.
We are here today and we'll be here tomorrow.
There are better days ahead. Tomorrow's a new day filled with hope and choices.
The possibilities of what we can achieve together are limitless.
Let's continue to work together to ensure a brighter tomorrow for all of us.
There will come a time when people talk about how Hyundai makes the best car on the road. Now seems about right. The technologically advanced Hyundai Elantra is the 2021 North American Car of the Year.
It's a special delivery to your inbox every week with your KUAM News Roundup, program advisories, and promotions. Sign up for the weekly KUAM Digital Digest today on KUAM.